Got started without you. This is a 2000, I think it was a 2009, the Ford Escape that I replaced the ignition switch on yesterday. So we're replacing the entire housing. It goes on there this way. This actually bolts together, surprisingly. To get the key out, you have to have the key, of course, not the key, but the lock cylinder out. Have something small enough to go through this little tiny hole on the top here. Barely turn the key forward and you can pull the lock cylinder out. You do need that to be able to put your new one on. This, I think they call this a halo ring. It's for the PAT system. So you got two clips. The top one's going to be the only one that you're really concerned with because the bottom one comes right out. Now, the next thing that I did, since the radio was on, was come over here and unplug the switch that we put in yesterday and pulled the wiring harness out of its loom here. I don't know yet if we have to pull the rest of this off, but I do know that I'm going to take that switch back off and send it back. So, lastly, we got to figure out how to get this pin out. And I want to say that they've got some sort of epoxy or something inside of it because it feels like there's a hole, but there absolutely is not a hole. That's one of those snap-off bolts to be able to keep all this crap together. Hopefully it's not super tight, because I'm going to have to use either a chisel and knock the head off, melt it to be able to get the insert in here melted out, or drill it. And I have a bad feeling that I'm going to have to take the steering column off because this looks like it's got a screw inside of it. Why can't they make anything easy anymore? Alright, so this will be another video, but how to remove the horn airbag from a 2009 Ford Escape. Under the bottom side here, there is a hole at the bottom of the airbag. Take something that's small enough to go inside of there. I'm using a T-handle T10. There's a lock pin in here somewhere. Well, I thought I got it, but I missed. Yes, it's still connected. Stop it! Alright, I'm going to disconnect the battery. Alright, with the battery disconnected, you want to hold in on the horn and then push that lever right there up, and it disconnects it off of this slide here. And of course everything else is downhill from there, so you want to disconnect your airbag, disconnect your horn pad, and in order to remove the Torx, you have to have an impact. So after you've removed the airbag from the housing, you'll want to remove these three wires from your airbag and your horn pad. This one has a little tab on it. It was hard to see at first, but I ended up figuring it out that it has to be pressed in order to come off. Then you have two little black tabs on the black airbag plug, and then you have two little tabs on the gray airbag plug. Next, we're going to be taking this center bolt out and removing the horn. This is the clock spring, so we're going to turn the steering wheel back to the right to where it's level. That way we don't have to guess what position we're going to be in. Alright, so we're level, and with a T45 or a T47, I'm not sure which one it is. I used a T45 and an impact and a 3-inch extension and popped her right out of there. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to have to use a puller, but if I do, then I'll use a puller. But I hate using the pullers because they are a bit finicky. So let's just see. First thing we're going to have to do, though, is make us a mark. That way we know where center is supposed to be. You can see maybe there. Yeah, there you go. You can see the center line on the shaft, but you can't see the center line on the steering column or steering wheel. So I'm going to make a mark with a screwdriver, and I'll pull that off. All right, with a little bit of heat doggy force, I ended up pulling it off. It wasn't exactly the easiest thing to remove. I grabbed it at 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, wiggle, 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 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and I almost hit myself in the face. So, be careful. Yeah, we're nearly to the ignition switch. Alright, there's all the steering wheel components, steering column components. Make sure that stays in the 12 o'clock position. That's the way that it's going to go back on. Now then, we have to remove a couple components here to be able to gain access to our ignition switch, but there's only one screw, it looks like, that holds it on, and she's right there. That looks like a 7mm. So I'm going to go grab a 7mm or maybe some of the smaller ones, because that's probably smaller than a 7mm, maybe like a 6.5 or so. Be right back. Okay, so this bolt is a 5.5. I've already gotten it broke loose. I'm trying not to turn the clock spring because the position is very crucial. We'll also try not to lose that. I don't know if you call it a screw or a bolt at this point. It's a hex head, but I don't know if it's coarse thread or fine thread. What do we got acting as a lever here? Oh, there's a screw in the top. Alright, so you've got this screw and then the one up here. They're going to be the same size. So I'm going to go ahead and take those off, and then I'll show you the front side. Also, this is one of those broken off bolt things. I forget what you call them. We've got the other one in here somewhere. I have to find that because I don't think there's another option unless I put a regular bolt in, which would make the most sense, but that's neither here nor there right now. There is another screw on the bottom, but after you get the 3 off, it comes right off of there. We're going to gently sit this in the passenger seat. Now comes the fun part, getting this off of there. Be nice if it actually slide up, but I think it has a detent that it goes into. It makes it impossible to slide up. Yeah, fun times, fun times. Yeah, she's tight like a tiger. Alright, I'll fiddle with this for a minute and go ahead and get that switch out back in the box. And then I'll be back. A little torch will be your best friend Trust me, it took me, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes to get this all the way out. All it does is melts the insert out of the plastic. Of course, it started melting the aluminum a little bit too, but bye. Okie dokie. There is absolutely a detent on the bottom of this, so it will not slide up. I'm going to assume this is probably for a steering wheel lock, since there's no other safety feature here. And then our other one's already installed. Oh my god, it's time to drive down the road. Alright, I have to find the bolt first. And I'll be back. Well, the hardest part of this whole thing so far has been putting the ignition switch back in, or the lock cylinder back in. You have to take the ignition switch off and hold tension in the start position to be able to drop the lock cylinder in. I did find the bolt. It is under my leg. That piece does snap off. So once you get this tight enough, that'll be gone. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. I think I'm probably going to have to put the key in and turn it on to be able to do this. You have to be extremely mindful of your positioning of this. It is cone shaped, so it has to sit in a specific place, which is about 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch off of, well, there's a lip there, and then there's also this metal tab. Now that I've gotten it in place, we're going to go ahead and tighten the bolt. Maybe I can get the ratchet on there. Before I snap it all the way off, I need to make sure the key goes in, key comes on, key goes off, steering wheel locks. Good. And just like that, we're back to where we started. All of the rest of this goes on, well, this goes on the front side on the steering column. This goes across the ring. Bottom just clipped onto something, but I don't know exactly what it was. We're in there like swimwear. So let's go ahead and get the switches and airbag and stuff on. Be right back. Just as a reminder here, these screws are not supposed to be extremely tight. And I do realize I called this airbag before, and it's not an airbag. This is a clock spring. Keep it straight up with our mark here. It's kind of hard to be off now, but it hasn't turned, so it can turn a little bit, just can't turn a lot. Now I'm going to put the steering wheel on and then put the airbag on. We'll make sure we line everything up, and then we'll be in the money. It's all downhill from here. You just got to put the airbag back on, the horn back on, and then clip her into place. Man, this thing is so nasty. Whew. Let's see if I can record the remaining bit of this. This tab, you want to make sure that it's facing up when putting it back on, because if you ever have to take it back apart, you don't want to be bending the horn contacts to be able to get it out. Make sure you plug your clock spring back in. Well, that technically is not the clock spring. The piece behind it is a clock spring, and it's already plugged in because it plugs in back here. This is going to be all your airbag controls, your steering wheel controls, everything else up here in the front. Now then, we're gonna go ahead and sorry, everything's connected, so put your hand on the horn like you're fixing to get mad at somebody and slam the horn, and then slam the horn. She's done. So I'm gonna go out here now and connect the battery and see if we got some ignition. No sparky, that's a good thing. It means that nothing blew up on me. Let's see, get my extended reach manual ratchet. Wrong way. You know, I thought that I left an extension. I wasn't sure though, but it's a good thing that I came back. Hey, let's see. We shouldn't have to reset anything because technically the only thing that we switched from yesterday is the ignition switch. Everything is plugged in. The Christmas tree connector here is now plugged in. The dash is already on. Check brake system. Hey, be quiet. I can't have you making noise. Yes, it lives. Thanks for watching.